So I think I've kind of built this, I guess like track record or trail of like every time I've bet on myself and just gone with my gut, it's worked out well. And so now it's become kind of second nature. And the second piece is just having the family behind me. Like my family is so supportive of everything that I do. There's never that fear of like, I mean, there's the internal fear of letting them down, but I deep down, I know that they love me if I was flipping burgers, man. They got my back no matter what. And so I think that gives me the confidence to go out and just execute. And then, over time, when you do it over and over and over, I think it's Alex Hormozy that says like disciplined people are disciplined because they can look behind them and see a trail of disciplined acts. Like there's evidence, you know what I mean? And so I think once you do it a couple times and you get that confidence, you're no longer as fearful,
Join me, Jeremy Swick, on Into the Unknown, a podcast that delves into the personal journeys, stories, and experiences of individuals across diverse professions. As a historian by trade, I firmly believe that our personal histories shape our present and offer valuable insights into our paths ahead. With that being said, let's get into it. Today, on this episode of Into the Unknown, I'm joined with my good friend David Kitch. David, how you doing, man?
I'm doing phenomenal, brother. Excited to do this, man. I love the show and what you've done. And we have some mutual friends that kind of recommended that this would be a great conversation. So I can't wait to hear it.
I really appreciate it. And of course, it's always great to have like-minded friends and continue to expand that network.
Absolutely, man. It's a huge part of it. And I think anybody that does podcasts or anything really in social media, business, coaching, doesn't matter. Your tribe is everything, man. The people that you surround yourself with.
David, I couldn't agree more. So let's just jump into it. I want to know that comic book issue number 1. What's your origin story? Who are you?
Yeah, so as you said, my name is David Kitchen, but I don't think anybody's called me David since I'm about 6 years old. My whole family, everybody calls me Kitch. And so I've gone by that as long as I can remember. But I'm a business owner, I'm a coach, I'm a brother, I'm a son, I'm a lot of things. But I was fortunate to be born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to a single mother. I was raised by a single parent, and I have a younger brother who is my best friend, and he's a big part of my life as well. But we were raised in a household where we saw mom working 3 jobs and 2 to 3 jobs at a time, and trying to put food on the table. We had a stepfather in the house that was abusive at times. He struggled with addiction. It was kind of a tough situation. And so we were fortunate to get out of there and get into a better situation, which my mom and my grandmother provided. And then from there, man, I was fortunate to be a part of be a good player on a great team. We'll put it that way when it comes to football. And I found my passion early on, and that was football. And that gave me a vehicle to get into college and get the opportunity to play college football at Susquehanna University. Graduated from Susquehanna in 2014 with a business degree and went into sales. So took kind of the traditional route of graduating from a good business school of let's get into sales and see how it goes. And I was making money. I was selling IT and cloud solutions to small and medium-sized businesses. And so I did that for about a year, pretty much lived out of my Jeep. I was driving around and knocking on doors and doing the whole thing. And I just realized that wasn't for me, man. It wasn't. I remember being at our Christmas party, our holiday Christmas party, and I was like looking around at all these guys and girls that were in their 40s and we're senior executives and we're making all this money. And I'm just like, I don't want to be that. Like, this isn't who I want to be. This isn't the life that I want for myself. And so I was fortunate to get the opportunity to coach at the high school level and coach football. And I got around the kids and I got to run the weight room. And I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I don't know if this is a career. I don't know if this is a real thing, but this is what I want to do. I want to be in the weight room, training athletes and doing this. And so I did my homework and I figured out that you could actually be a college strength and conditioning coach. And I was like, this is dope. This is what I want to do. So didn't know anybody in the industry, didn't know how to get into the industry, didn't have the background, didn't have an exercise science degree, none of that stuff. So I wrote letters to all the coaches at the Division I level up and down the East Coast. And I said, I will quit my job and come work for you for free if you'll take me and teach me how to do this. And I was fortunate to get a response from Todd Hammer at Robert Morris University out in Pittsburgh and got the chance to go out. So I packed up my Jeep, moved out to Pittsburgh, no pay. Lived in it was an old high school that they turned into 1-bedroom apartments, and they only took cash for rent. So you can kind of imagine what kind of place that was. and lived in that apartment, man. I had like a TV stand that was like one of those like plastic like tote bins, and that was my TV stand. It was my study table. It was my computer. It was my computer stand. It was everything. So I lived out there, and that launched my career in college coaching. And I was fortunate to pass my certification exam the next a couple months later. And then from there, it was a wild ride for the next 9 years that took me all over the country, and got the chance to coach at Georgia Southern University, Division I men's basketball. I was the youngest head strength coach in the country at 24. And then from there, when I was at UNLV, so I got to coach major college football. And then, the pandemic hit, and once again, life threw me a curveball, and I was like, you know what? It's time for me to do something different. And so I launched Edge Leadership Academy in 2019, and here we are 3 years later, man. So that's kind of the background of where this all happened and where it came from.
Kitch, I love that. I just want to, start, going back a little bit. What really got you into football? Was it just the fact that you realized you had that athletic ability and you were good, or was there something else?
It was a couple things. So my family pushed me into it kind of a little bit, and they were like, "You should try this." And then obviously, being a large kid, I've always been a big guy, and so being bigger than everybody else, I was like, "Oh, I'm actually kind of good at this." And then the added bonus of I can hit people and not get in trouble. This is for me. Like, sign me up immediately. And then as I got older, it became more than that. It became an outlet. It became somewhere that I could go and be myself and let my personality shine, and really let it go. All the things that were stressing me out in life, the fact that I was the man of the house, those types of things. Like, I was able to put all that away, and kind of, I joke about it, say my alter ego, let my alter ego out, and go have fun, for a couple hours. And there's no better feeling, even to this day, as a coach. And I've coached in places like Ohio State. I've coached against USC on opening weekend in the Coliseum. There is nothing that rivals the feeling of actually strapping the pads on yourself and being out there and just being free, man.
Kitch, I love that. What made you choose the school you ended up attending?
So honestly, man, I'm the typical Friday Night Lights sob story. So I was highly recruited my junior year. Was again, like I said, I was a good player on a great team. So I got to ride some coattails there and get some recruiting action. But I was pretty highly recruited as a junior. And then the last weekend before my senior season, I actually blew my knee during drill. So before the season started. So obviously the recruiting went away. I played the season on the knee and just wasn't the same player that I was, the 2 years prior. And so I didn't really have any offers coming out. I was able to play in an all-star game. And I kind of joke about it now and say that I think they just put me in because of who I was the 2 years prior. I don't think it was so much what I did my senior year, but was able to play in the all-star game. And the one of the players on the opposite team, his dad was a head coach, and we had played against each other for 3 years. And so he had seen me play. He was the head coach of a small Division III school. I had never heard of the school, even though it was only like an hour and change from my house. I didn't even know it existed. And they asked me to come on a visit. And, basically they told me, like, we didn't recruit you because we didn't think we would have a shot at getting you. And then when they found out that I didn't have any offers, we went, and one of my best friends was also on the trip with me. And we were both like, dude, screw it. Let's go to school together. Like, it's a good school. We'll get to come here and play ball. Like, let's just do it. So that's how I ended up there. It is one of the best decisions I've ever made, man. Phenomenal university. I've had the opportunity to go back there and coach since then. So it's a great place.
Kitch, I love that. And so I think, and you've mentioned a couple of these opportunities, I think on everyone's journey, you have a choice, you have a chance to go east, and you have a chance to go west. And you really don't know the outcome. Can you give me one of those stories where you just made a decision and really didn't know what was going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one that set everything up, the first domino to fall, so to say, in my story would be deciding to quit my job as a sales rep and get into coaching. I had no clue what I was doing. I had no background. Everybody else had exercise science degrees. I was a year and a half older than all the other people. I was already graduated college. Everybody else does internships while they're in college. I was a year out, and I had already coached for a year, and I had no clue what any of that stuff meant. And so I think that was the first instance of, like, you to name the show, going into the unknown and stepping into the unknown. I had no idea how that was going to plan out. I didn't even know if I'd be able to pass the test. Like, you have to pass a certification test to get a paid job in college athletics. And I didn't even have the undergraduate degree to begin to study for the test. So I think that was the first the first time that I really stepped into the unknown. It was just like, screw it, I'm going to bet on me, and we'll see what happens.
I love that. Do you think there's a part of you that either consciously or unconsciously, you know that when you have an opportunity to step into that next chapter, into something unknown, do you relish it, or are you fearful of it still?
No, I don't think I'm fearful anymore. I think I've made enough decisions in my life that were, kind of counterintuitive, I guess. Like a lot, if you look at a lot of my career, especially in coaching, a lot of it went against the common trajectory. And so what I mean by that is, like, I left a Division 1 job to take a Division 2 job, and then that ended up, springboarding me into becoming the youngest head strength coach in the country. And then I left that job to take an assistant job at a Division 1 school, and then I became the youngest coach in Division 1. And so then I left that and I took a D3 job, and people were like, dude, you'll never get back to Division 1. Then that springboarded me into a job in men's basketball at Georgia Southern, where we won our conference tournament. And, I was one of the only people to coach at that level, Division 1, in both men's basketball and football. And so I think I've kind of built this, I guess, like, track record or trail of, like, every time I've bet on myself and just gone with my gut, it's worked out well. And so now it's become kind of second nature. And the second piece is just having the family behind me. Like, my family is so supportive of everything that I do. There's never that fear of, like, I mean, there's the internal fear of letting them down, but I deep down, I know that they'd love me if I was flipping burgers, man. They got my back no matter what. And so I think that gives me the confidence to go out and just execute. And then, over time, when you do it over and over and over, I think it's Alex Hormozy that says, like, disciplined people are disciplined because they can look behind them and see a trail of disciplined acts. Like, there's evidence, you know what I mean? And so I think once you do it a couple times and you get that confidence, you're no longer as fearful. When I walked away from Division 1 and started my own business in the middle of a pandemic, a speaking business nonetheless, that was another moment of, like, what's going to happen here? But I've always, kind of been, I don't know if it's delusional or blessed, or I don't know whether it's a gift or a curse, but I have this thing in me that, like, once I make a decision, I'm just like, screw it, I'm going, and I'm going to run face first into it, and we'll figure the rest out on the other side.
Kitch, I love that. And I think so much of it, I'm thankful that I also have a very supportive family. And you also mentioned it. It's that proven track record of success. I think now that my dreams and your dreams, when you say things, they don't seem so ridiculous or so out there, because your family, your friends, just anyone can look back at your track record and see this keeps working out for him. And I don't think it can be this much dumb luck, if you will.
Yeah, there does. I mean, and there's still that imposter syndrome, like I walked away, I was in coaching, and now all of a sudden I'm coaching CEOs and I'm coaching entrepreneurs. And so it's like, there is that feeling of internally, like, you're like, oh man, like, maybe I bit off more than I can chew here. Like, how did I end up in this room? But at the same time, yeah, you look at it and you look back on the compounding wins and the things that you've done in your life, and you gain that confidence, and you have this confidence of, you know, it's happened before, and I've won before, and it's not ego, it's not arrogance, it's just, I just have faith in myself that I'm going to work, and at the end of the day, like, you might be smarter than me, you might be more talented than me, but you're not going to outwork me, and I know that as long as you have that to fall back on, like, success is a war of attrition. You just got to stay in it longer than all the other people that quit, right? And I know that my pain tolerance is pretty high, and I know that my willingness to work is pretty high. So if I just stay in it and I just don't accept failure as a real thing, I can't lose.
Kitch, I love that. So, as the title is Into the Unknown, what is your version of Into the Unknown? What are you working on now?
Yeah, so right now I have my business, Edge Leadership Academy. We provide coaching services, we provide keynote addresses, consulting, training to C-suite executives, entrepreneurs, athletics teams, all different areas around the areas of leadership, culture, and mindset. We do all three. So I'm also working on my PhD. So I'm working on finishing that up right now in psychology. And then I'm also working on my third book, which hopefully will be out in the next year or so. So those are all unknowns for me. We've grown the company, and I've been able to scale it from when it first started, 3 years ago, to now we're over 100 clients, and we service teams and companies nationwide. We work with really large companies and businesses that I didn't ever think I would be in the same room as. And so I think every day for me is kind of into the unknown at this point. Like that's the cool game of entrepreneurship, is like every day is kind of unknown. Like you don't know what opportunity is going to be put in front of you. And I think part of excelling in the unknown is learning to recognize the opportunities instead of being fearful of them, right? Because sometimes you're so afraid and you're so focused on yourself when you step into those unknown situations that you're not aware enough to recognize the opportunities that are right in front of you.
Kitch, I love that. So, where can people find you on social media?
I'm all over social media. I keep it simple. It's at Coach D Kitch on everything. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever the new one is the Threads, TikTok, all that stuff. I'm at Coach D Kitch. I'm always on there talking some sort of junk and trying to share the message as wide and as loud as I possibly can. We also have a website, so it's edgeleadershipacademy.com. We have our booking links on there and all the other information if people want to reach out to me.
Well, man, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time. It was great to talk with you, and I look forward to seeing your journey continue to unfold.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you doing this. And like I said, I love your platform. Love what you stand for. So keep doing what you're doing, brother. I'm excited to follow you as well.